All right, we're back. Wade's World people, what's going on? Yes, I'm in the mobile setup, but we have to talk about this. Creator Clash 2 pay-per-view sales and revenue, or lack thereof, just dropped, and we got to talk about exactly what this is. I'm seeing iDubbbz's video come out 12 hours ago. I haven't actually seen it, but I did see the numbers. Apparently, according to Happy Punch on Twitter, Creator Clash 2 sold 50K pay-per-view buys and lost $250,000. Now, that would be about half of the pay-per-view buys they did last year, and there's going to be a lot of reasons for that. I'm pretty sure I know most of them, but I'll let iDubbbz explain, and I'll kind of put little tidbits and pieces, because I was a part of the event in a very small role as a commentator. I had no part in the actual setting up of the event or fighters or promotion or anything really like that, so this is brand new to me as well. These numbers I didn't know until right now. So yeah, let's dive into it. It really does suck because it is a charity event and something that obviously you want to do well. I don't think anybody was, well, maybe there were some people rooting for this to fail, which is loser behavior, but for the most part, no one wants to see a charity event do badly, because that just, at the end of the day, takes money away from charity. So it's unfortunate, but let's see why Creator Clash 2 not only didn't live up to number 1, but kind of flopped.
For Creator Clash 2, despite it being a fun event and despite good fights and a lot of creators sacrificing a lot of time, money, and energy, we lost $250,000 on the event. The way that this typically works for anyone who's unaware is that once our expenses are paid off for the event, like all the minimums of broadcasting, the hotel, travel, all that sort of stuff, once that's all paid off, then we can start paying the charities. Unfortunately, we didn't even reach the break-even point, right? We're $250,000 in the red.
Yeah, that's tough, man. This is bad, right? If you're iDubbbz and you put all your energy into this event, to not only not even be able to make a profit that you can then give back to the fighters in some capacity to help with their training, which I think we're going to get to. I don't exactly know how that worked, but I know there was a plan in place if the pay-per-view did well enough that some of the fighters would get paid, or I think all the fighters would get paid a certain amount. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm sure he'll get into it. But to not even break even means that I don't know that the charities even got any. I mean, I think that's what he's saying here, that none of the charities even got a payment out, or were able to raise enough money to pay the charities out, because the expenses weren't even met. They lost $250,000 on just putting the event on. And I have more than a feeling that that's going to be 100% solely due to the pay-per-view revenue. Because in the fight game, yes, the gate is important, right? Selling out, which they did sell out the Emily Arena, which was a bigger arena than the first one at Creator Clash 1 that we did at USF's basketball center, the Yingling Center. That is big, and that's important, but it's not as financially important or as monetarily important as selling that pay-per-view. And this is something we run into all the time in the influencer boxing scene. For Creator Clash, it was a different reason that, again, we'll get into, but I hate putting it this way, but it looks like they've probably overspent, which is a common theme here in influencer boxing, and one that I'm sure we're going to revisit really soon.
I thought, okay, we're bringing on more talent, we're bringing on more creators. That should translate to more pay-per-view buys. We're inviting more creator guests. I think that should translate to more pay-per-view buys. This is our second time doing the event, so more people are going to know about it, so I thought that would translate to pay-per-view buys. But we did half as well as we did the first year.
The problem that iDubbbz is having here is trying to relate what happened the first time around to then compound on for the second. You have to treat these influencer boxing events as their own separate events, right? Yes, you build a name. Creator Clash had a name off the first event, but the people that watch Creator Clash watched for their specific creators that they loved, and because it was the first one, right? It was the debut. It was this new thing in the influencer boxing scene. How's it gonna do? iDubbbz has never fought. How's he gonna do? Dr. Mike, all these questions that we didn't have answers to yet, we got on that first night, and it came together beautifully. And the same with the second one. It was a great event. Fights came together well. We had a stacked card, but the problem is, at least in my opinion, it wasn't about having more fights, more creators on the card. It was about having the right ones. And I'm not saying that it's so easy to do that because I have never put on an event. So for me to sit here and act like, oh, this is who you should have got, that's who you should have got, a lot of it wouldn't have been feasible because this is the influencer boxing scene. These people do not have to fight. At least most of them don't. So trying to ask someone to risk their health and get in there and do it is one of the biggest problems we have in influencer boxing. You're gonna have to make it viable for those people that are making thousands and thousands of dollars just creating video. Why give that up? It's safe, it's reoccurrent income, it's something that builds their audience, builds their brand. Why give that up to come do a boxing match if it's not gonna be either the same amount of payment or the same opportunity to grow? And yes, the charity thing is a massive part of this, but at some point, people are going to have to sign on based on what they get in return. And this is one of the bigger problems with influencer boxing. And with Creator Clash, it's even more compound because you're not offering a massive payment, you're offering goodwill. And for some people, that's just not enough.
50,000 compared to 100,000 the first year. So I was wrong, and I feel a lot of shame because a lot of people were trusting me and trusting our team to, you know, protect the event and protect the charities and protect just the whole thing. It feels particularly bad because this isn't like a regular business where it's all a personal loss and I can just be like, oh, okay, I suck at business, and I walk away from it. All of the other fighters were, you know, hoping that their charities got represented and got supported for all their hard work.
That's tough, man. I hate it for Ian because I know that him, Anissa, everybody that is on that team behind the scenes puts in so much hard work to make these events happen. To try to grow it and make it bigger is no easy feat, especially with the amount of time they're putting into each event, right? You have this one moment every year to really push and make this thing grandiose, to make it big, and it takes, I think they've told me before, sometimes 8 to 9 months to get that plan in place and really follow it from start to finish, including getting the fighters in camps, making sure they're training, making sure the venue, I mean, all the stuff you guys know, venue, ticket sales, sponsors, charities, the production, all that stuff. It takes so much time, and for a guy that in iDubbbz had no previous, you know, experience in the boxing scene, he hired the right people to come and help him. It was just, again, you ran into what have you done for me lately in the influencer boxing scene, and we're seeing it with every event now. We're seeing it with everything not having KSI, Jake Paul, or Logan Paul on board. You're going to have to make people care again. And they automatically care about KSI. He's the biggest YouTuber in the UK. They automatically care about Jake Paul. They want to see him get knocked out. They automatically care about Logan because he's one of the biggest YouTubers in the US, and now he's affiliated with KSI. But outside of that, everybody else has to be promotable.
But we didn't have any anti-piracy measures. We weren't prepared to deal with what ended up happening. I mean, for me, I was just thinking, like, let's just avoid catastrophe. As long as there's, like, not, like, I don't know, like a bomb threat or, like, injuries or anything crazy, like, we should be fine. This should just be, like, the first year. I don't want it to be more complicated than the first year. It ended up being a lot more complicated.
That's how every event goes, though, man. This is Ian getting his basically he's cutting his teeth in fight promotion. I can tell that, again, there is a bit of an experience there, but he has brought on some people that are experienced in this game. But the anti-piracy thing is such a massive black hole in all pay-per-view sports right now. Whether it's professional boxing, MMA, influencer boxing, it is almost unsolvable right now. I mean, you can take measures, you can have, you know, people watching, you can have, you know, in real time DMCA stuff and trying to take down streams here and there, but you're not going to catch everyone. And it just takes 1 or 2 active live streams to be able to pull thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or potentially millions of people away from buying that pay-per-view. At the end of the day, anti-piracy is the biggest issue that we have in influencer boxing, and quite frankly, in pay-per-view sports. I don't know if it's going to get solved anytime soon, but this was a big hit, for sure.
Amongst the 800 pirated streaming sites, there were between 1.3 and 3 million viewers.
Jesus. Okay, well... There's the number. 1.3 to 3 million viewers. Now, can you guarantee that you stop all of those people from piracy issues? This is what I was talking about. No, you can't guarantee that you stop everyone. And even if that number is as low as 1.3, you're not going to stop all 1.3. But if you stop 500,000, if you stop 400,000, that doesn't mean that 400,000 just automatically buy the pay-per-view. But of those 400,000, maybe you get a quarter of that, right? Maybe you get that 100,000. And all of a sudden, that number that you would have gotten had you maybe paid a little more attention to the anti-piracy side of things, or again, I don't want to put it all on Ian. It's so difficult to just find ways to stop all these things. It's not possible. It's not possible to stop it all. But if there was some forethought put into there, you're talking about 100,000 pay-per-views potentially. I would think that that's not a crazy number. Even if you wanted to go less than that, 50,000, that could have made up what you didn't do this time around that you did the first time.
It makes me feel like, okay, people maybe do want to watch this. They just didn't, they just either couldn't afford it or just didn't want to support what I had going on. If it's 1 or 2 steps to pirate it, but it's 3 or 4 steps to stream it legitimately, people are going to take the pirating option every time.
Bingo. And it's not only just the 1 or 2 steps thing, it is the amount of money involved with doing it. And time. Right? And time. If you didn't know this fight was happening and then all of a sudden you're hearing about it on Twitter, boom, find a link, you got it. You don't have to pay the 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, whatever it was. The end's right here. Just like it's only takes 1 or 2 steps to stream it illegally, whereas it will take 3 to 4 to 5 to 10 steps to try to find where that originating point is coming from Ian's team. Again, had they been more attentive to this to stop it. It's a battle of attrition and one that he might not have won, but he could slow it down a little bit.
I think we also had a big streamer audience. That's who we are appealing to. I really like the live stream audience. People who want to watch these events live, and they watch things on Twitch and YouTube, and they get it all for free generally. So I think it was in a lot of ways bad to appeal to that crowd and not give away the stream for free. I think a lot of them felt like, well, this should be something that's free. Especially if you have ads in it.
It's so hard to give that up for free, though. It's almost impossible. I know that there's one event that does it, the Spanish influencer boxing event. I think it just happened. They did like 3 million concurrent live viewers on Twitch. It was fucking insane. But asking Ian and Anissa to give this away for free while also maintaining that high-level production, maintaining, the venue, 15,000 seat arena, maintaining all the fighters on the card, as well as the broadcasting rights fees, all the stuff that they were going to have to do. I don't know. I don't think that would have been able to be done. Now, if you were to say, okay, they weren't going to do a house that big, maybe scale it back, like scale back a lot of these things, then sure. But to do the event they wanted to do, that was never going to be the case.
We did have higher expenses this year. It was a bigger arena. We went to the Amalie Arena, so it was twice as big. We paid more for broadcasting. So broadcasting team did a lot more elaborate shit, and there was a lot more staff involved. We did a creator hotel, so we bought out a hotel to make sure all the creators had a safe place that they can stay.
That one was one that Christian and I even were surprised at when we went to Creator Clash, that they had bought out the entire hotel. But again, in the moment, you're not thinking about it because you have so many people that are there and your teams and everybody's having a good time. But that's another thing where you look at it and was like, was that really necessary? And again, it's easy for me to sit here after this whole thing goes down and the numbers come out, having not had to gone through the entire process of things and been in the backstage and doing all that, to say, yeah, that was probably not the greatest idea. But the reality is it probably wasn't.
We also had events the day before the fight and the day after the fight, so that, fighters and friends and family could come together and process their trauma. That was sort of paramount for me, because the first year we did the fight and then I went to bed. I got the shit kicked out of me by Dr. Mike, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up, the hotel was empty, and then I got on a flight and traveled 5 hours with my face completely swollen back to Seattle. And I was like, that was cool. That was so worth it. There was nothing. There was no processing my trauma. There was no talking to anyone and relating about the experience afterward. Everyone was gone. And that shit felt awful. So, yeah, some of these things that might seem extraneous, in my opinion, were entirely necessary, and I wouldn't change it.
So here's the thing. I get where iDubbbz is coming from right here, right? You do these events as a way to, as he said, process your trauma, right? You have these, I think it was a meeting, like the night before, it was like it's like a party, right? They had like a whole mixer, yeah. Everybody came, and these are the people that are going to be fighting each other. So it, like, I don't know if everybody was in there at the same time. For the most part, there was a lot of the creators that were going to be fighting each other at this thing. And Christian and I didn't get to stay to the after thing because we had to end up flying directly to London for Kingpin #1. But I will disagree with him here. Now, granted, again, it's not my event, so I can't sit here and say what was the right and wrong moves for what iDubbbz was going for, which obviously he felt after the first event where he got, he lost to Dr. Mike and he had to get on a flight and go back home. This is the life of a fighter. This is it, right? This is what you sign up for. You don't get into the ring to then come out of it and talk to everybody else about what it was like to be a fighter, because that's never guaranteed. The life of a fighter is a lonely one that is marred in pain, suffering, ultimately defeat for everyone, but at some point, victory and pride and confidence and skill building and I don't know, mental fortitude. There all these things grow from it, but placing a party the day after the event to collectively process trauma, again, I get the understanding and the reasoning for everyone to be in that same place at once, but on a financial level and a level that, I guess the way I look at it, somebody that was trying to run and successfully run a business here, I can't say it's not necessary because that just sounds terrible, but I don't know, it just doesn't, to me, processing that trauma is something that fighter has to go through. It's in every combat sport they have to go through alone. And while that sounds dim and dark and grueling, in the life of a fighter it's not pleasant. So when these things happen, it's iDubbbz's choice to do that. It's his choice to put on this kind of event where fighters can come together after and have this great party. But I'm sure that if not for that could have been another place, and he knows this, where they would have saved money. It's just what you weigh more, I guess, in this case. Do you weigh that feeling of togetherness more than the losses that you took? Is if that's the case, and like iDubbbz said, he's completely fine with it, that's fine.
We also had to pay for more fighters this year. The first year it was 18, this year it was 24. I thought bringing in more fighters would just lead to more pay-per-view buys, but I think it just ended up costing us more, because each fighter gets a $20,000 stipend. And for anyone like confused about this or thought everyone was fighting for free, they pretty much are fighting for free. I think any of the fighters can attest to the fact that fighting in Creator Clash is not a financial boon in any way. That $20,000 is eaten up in those 9 months that you're training. I would say that $20,000 is on the low end of what it should cost you to train in those 9 months.
So this was a big topic of concern for a lot of people going into the fight. Why no one said the fighter was getting paid? We thought it was all going to charity. I didn't know this was confusing to a lot of people. This happened last year too. I didn't know the numbers on what people got, but like me as a commentator, I didn't get paid. I was actually offered by Ian and Anissa to get paid this time around, and I said, no, if you're going to pay anyone, pay the fighters, because they're the people ultimately risking their health to get in there. Now, the number 20,000 is somewhat significant because what did they say, 24 fighters? So basically 500 grand went to the fighters, and as meticulous and as on top of this as Anissa and Ian were, that money was going to be spent by fighters however they wanted to spend it. And he's right, 20 grand's not a ton of money to go into a professional boxing and or professional fighting camp, but I think it's around $2,200 a month. That is sufficient for what these fighters would be able to afford as a trainer, gym fees, like he said, food. The question I have is, did everyone that was training for this just stop creating in that time frame? Or the ones that maybe weren't the highest name creators, did they continue to not create content and do those things? I get it. Trust me, in the last 2 weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks, when I've been doing this to become a fighter series over on my main channel, I've understood how difficult it is to upload and also train and do those things. But at the end of the day, these are content creators, and I've said this from the beginning. If we are going to remain a popular act in this influencer space, guys have to continue to influence. They do have to continue to create content, and they can't just rely on the fact that they're getting a stipend to come and fight, especially when it's, I shouldn't say only because that's a generous amount of money, but $20,000 for 9 months of camp and then getting ready for this event. This was something that I think a lot of people either didn't take advantage of, the fact that they were getting paid to come and do this, but also could build their brand on top of that. Again, that's not iDubbbz's fault. But at the same time, that money for fighters, in my opinion, should have had, and maybe it did and it wasn't met, but should have had some sort of particulars. And I've said this with Misfits and with Kingpin, but there should be in all of these contracts for influencer boxers deliverables, videos, reads, promotion in some way to be able to incentivize them financially.
And what I absolutely don't need is people spreading rumors about us pocketing money. This has been a financial fucking catastrophe for me. We don't need that, and we don't need any of that shit for any of our other fighters, because they this has been a huge sacrifice for all of them financially, specifically financially. If you want to say that they're earning boatloads of clout for fighting, sure, whatever you want to say.
I don't even know if you could even say that for Creator Clash. Like, who came out of Creator Clash with massive amounts of clout? Like, Myth definitely looked strong. Michelle Khare already had ridiculous amounts of clout. Maybe Alex Wasabi, maybe, you know, if he wants to do a Misfits card, maybe. But the point I guess I'm making is to insinuate that iDubbbz and Anissa were pocketing money behind people's backs and not giving what they said they would to charity is at least to my knowledge, just asinine. Granted, again, you do have to have some sort of money left over to either pay for all these things that we've already discussed, fighters, production, and then yes, there will be some take home, but I don't remember that ever not being addressed to begin with. And maybe that was the whole misconception, was that people didn't know where all the money was going, and so they got a little upset about it. But again, to my knowledge, there's nobody out here pocketing money behind people's backs and not doing what they said they would do. This is genuinely one of the most selfless events that we have in influencer boxing, and to see Ian and Anissa have to explain that part of it, I'm not a big fan of that either.
But this has been a huge sacrifice. I try not to view any of the pirated live streams as malicious, because I think the majority of people, you know, aren't malicious about it. I think there were 50,000 people out of 1 million plus who just said Creator Clash live stream, and like instantly a bunch of shit popped up, and it was just very easy for them to watch. And I really don't blame them for making that choice.
That's the thing. You can't blame people for doing what is easiest for them. The live streaming illegally is easiest for most people, especially, and this is where I will kind of, you know, go right back to the big issue here, especially when the measures aren't in place. And again, it's almost impossible to do it 100%, but especially when the stuff is not in place to find ways to mitigate the illegal streams, to then promote for months and months and months in a way that is not only organic, but also gets to the audience, the core audience you want, the streaming audience. Maybe reaching out to certain streamers and promoting Creator Clash on their streams, if that's something that they so choose to do, would be a better way for months leading up, like the Pokemains, like the Sans, like the XQCs, the Markipliers, those people with those massive audiences, to direct their viewers to the actual website to get the pay-per-view at that point. But was it malicious? Was it not? It's irrelevant. People are going to do what's easiest for them, and what's easiest, especially when you're finding out, you know, the week of, couple of weeks of, whatever, is to find an illegal stream, especially when it's the night of. You're finding out the night of and you have no idea where to go and buy this thing. It's on there, boom. And as we know historically, most pay-per-view buys will come in that last week. You hope to get what you can out of the front end, but that last week you push hard. You hope to get as many people that are left. If you don't get those people, they will illegally stream.
In making this video is to remedy it. That's sort of what I've been grappling with over the past couple of months, is like, what the hell are we going to do? You know, I can't even think about doing a Creator Clash 3. We lost money and there's no money for charity. So what are we going to do to solve that? I don't I don't have a good solution. The best solution that I've been able to come up with is putting the full Creator Clash broadcast, Creator Clash 2 broadcast, on YouTube for free for everyone to watch. And just hoping and praying that people enjoy it and want to support it. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are, but I want to post the full broadcast on YouTube, and I want to have like a fundraising goal. I know YouTube has like a fundraising thing, but right now, from what I've seen, YouTube doesn't allow multiple charities to be listed in the fundraiser. And there's not really very many good options for us to collect donations ourselves. So I think we're just going to have a singular charity represented in the video, and then we'll put all the other charities in the description. So if you want to donate to a specific charity, that's where you can do it. I want to make it right. I want to make it more right. I'm okay with us fucking up and taking a $250,000 loss. I'm not okay with charities not getting any money.
So this is tough, right? You have a situation where obviously they're in the hole big time here, right? They're in the hole massive amounts of money. So for them to, and I know what people are going to say, it's inevitable. Why doesn't iDubbbz, why doesn't Anissa, why don't they come out of their own pockets for charity? Well, they kind of already did that, right? That's what the $250,000 from their company is. It's gone. I mean, sure, you can say, you know, iDubbbz, you put your money up, but I'm not in the man's pockets. I don't know what he's got left to do that. And obviously no one's being forced here to donate to charity, but as far as a solution here so that the charities actually do get some sort of payout, he's in a tough spot, man. He's in a tough spot. Outside of a GoFundMe, which again, if people weren't going to pay for the broadcast for it to then go to charity, I don't know if you make the VOD free that the people that are already going to want to watch it for free have any incentive to then go and donate to charity, unless it's just out of the kindness of their heart. And that's when you rely on the emotion and the nature of other people. Just in my opinion, I don't know if it's gonna do very well here. So I hope so. If you guys are watching my video, I think hopefully iDubbbz has got the video up now. We'll leave the link to the VOD. And Leo, let's put all the charities here in the description. I don't know that I'll even be able to help in any way, but regardless, this one's a tough loss for iDubbbz and really for influencer boxing, because we have a couple of minutes left in this. We'll take a look, but I'll explain why this is probably a massive loss for influencer boxing.
It might feel like a big loss, but it was a lot of entertainment. And, you know, a lot of good came out of it. A lot of people had unforgettable experiences, and it will be a highlight of their lives. There's a lot of boxing events where no money goes to charity at all, ever. There's not even the chance that it goes to charity. So I just want to thank everyone. It truly made a difference that you came and supported. I'm just disappointed that I let everyone down. You know, I just made some strategically shitty decisions along the way, and all of those decisions, you know, led to where we're at. I think it was dumb of me to say that we weren't going to make the broadcast available for free like we did the previous year. I thought that would bring in more pay-per-view buys, because people would be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to watch it for free? Well, I'll definitely buy so I can tune in. But I don't know. It either didn't have an effect or backfired, and I'm trying to learn from it. This year I have a lot on my plate, and, you know, I think my strategy going forward is to just be, you know, completely candid with everything. Again, it's hard. I would normally keep all of this shit to myself, but I gotta express myself. I gotta tell you guys what's up. Otherwise, I'm going to rot from the inside. But yeah, additionally, another thing that's, you know, been eating at me is that someone is trying to take over Creator Clash. I know that sounds like I don't know, the plot of a video game or something, but it's real. And it's been taking up a lot of my time.
I don't even know how to take that. iDubbbz just said someone's trying to take over Creator Clash. I don't even know who that would be, or like, I don't know who his business partners are. That would be, you would assume it'd have to be from the inside. Whatever that is, I have no idea about. But what I was going to say is, iDubbbz says there, you know, he didn't feel like a loss. People got some entertainment out of it. And I'd agree, you know, listen, I was there on the night. It was an amazing event. Christian was there. We had a great time, you know, and those memories will stay with us forever. And if that's the goal, was to create memories, to create entertainment, obviously those were big goals, but the biggest one was to raise money for charity, and that just didn't happen. And like iDubbbz said, there was a lot of strategic errors there. I don't think that the whole making it free versus not was a massive error. I think it was the lack of attention to detail when it came to piracy, which again, you can't solve everything, but definitely could have saved a little bit there. More emphasis on promotion, and again, that's not directed just at iDubbbz, it's everybody, or just at Creator Clash. It's myself, it's the fighters, it's everybody involved with the event. If you're going to be there, this does need to be a priority to you, right? Promoting the event you're going to be on does need to be a priority. And last but not least, why I say this is a loss for the influencer boxing community is I don't think we're going to get a Creator Clash 3. After seeing this, if I'm being realistic, how do you justify putting on a third one and then justify it being for charity if the second one had no money raised for charity? Where is the good faith now, you know? And again, I'm not taking shots or anything like that. I don't know if iDubbbz wants to put himself in those crosshairs again, because if he does, and by the way, this video, kudos to him, man. The balls to get on camera and say some of this stuff, but I know it fucking sucked, and I know he didn't want to say it. You gotta respect that, and even, you know, admitting where his flaws were, admitting where things could have been better. The only problem is now you have to move forward without a plan to make things right, and I know that kills him, and that stings, and I'm sure it does everybody that was a part of this, me too. But it's a major loss here for influencer boxing, and You're starting to see a lot of these throughout influencer boxing. One that we're probably going to talk about pretty shortly. But at the end of the day, people have to care, right? They have to care about what you're doing. If you're going to put on an event this size, this magnitude, pay-per-view, then you have to find a way to make pay-per-view care. And unfortunately, this time around for Creator Clash 2, whether it was an overcommittal to the good faith of number one, the lack of again, attention to detail when it came to pay-per-view piracy and or promotion, maybe a little bit too much spending on the things that weren't necessarily critical to the event itself, not the production, broadcast, that stuff I get, but maybe, the hotels and the things like that. And just eventually the inexperience of not doing this consistently is probably why we are where we are. So what happens next for Creator Clash, iDubbbz, Anissa, all I'll say is I'm very appreciative that I was a part of the event, and thank you for allowing me to be there. I apologize if I didn't do as much as even I could have done to make this better, but I just wanted to tell them thank you for, again, trying. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way they wanted, and it's a massive, massive loss. It's easy for me to sit here and talk about it. It isn't my money and all my time that unfortunately went this way, but I wish them well. I think they're really, really great people, and I don't want to see anything happen to them like this. This is awful. And if you guys need anything, hit me up. Whatever it is, we'll leave the links in the description. I hate this stuff, but that's Creator Clash 2. I don't know what happens next for them, but I guess we'll find out.